All right, today I want to talk about pain. I've gotten a few dental procedures done and I've opted not to use any local anesthetics where they give you the shot and it numbs your gums or your mouth. And this is something that a lot of dentists are actually willing to do, and people do sometimes ask for it. Why anyone would want to do this, or why I would want to do it, I'm going to talk about that after. First, I'm going to give a little story and break down my method. So I established a set of hand signals with this doctor to where I could give him a thumbs up if I wanted more pain and give him a thumbs down if I had reached my limit and I needed it to stop or not get worse. It was one of these deep clean things where they shoot a high-powered water jet in between all your teeth, and it could be really painful, but it's not the same as a root canal, so I figured this was a good one to practice with. So as I'm going through it, I'm giving him hand signals. I basically maxed it out to where he couldn't make it any more painful. And he was dubious a couple times, and he kind of looked at me like, "Are you sure?" And it was because my body was kind of visibly going through a reaction, but I was perfectly fine in my mind. I wasn't suffering from it at all. I'm going to talk about that distinction too. Now, what exactly was I doing? So the method I use is essentially very similar to a mindfulness meditation technique. I'm basically going into a relaxed, calm, focused mental state, and I'm observing the sensations in my body. And there's going to be one really, really powerful sensation in my body, which is happening over here, so that's where all my attention is going. And I'm keeping my attention there like a laser. I'm tracking it, and I'm going deeper into it, and I'm concentrating on it. I'm concentrating my attention and my awareness entirely on the sensations that are happening. This might seem like it could quickly become overwhelming, and if you don't do it correctly, it can. But as you do it, and you start to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the pain, and you start to basically examine it and take it apart, it's almost like threads in a rope, which you start to slowly unravel and untangle them. So you start to separate out different aspects of the sensations. So I'll notice that, oh, that's a really intense kind of heat, and that's a really intense vibration. It's almost like a zing kind of. Dental work has that quality to it a lot. And then I'll notice that there's a thought, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, I can't take this anymore, I can't take this anymore. And I don't react to any of these things, especially the thoughts. I might notice that there's contraction in my body and that I'm trying to basically tense up to brace against the pain, and that's another level of trying to resist it and not actually paying attention to it. So as I go through this process, I'm untangling the rope, and the desire to squirm and get away and tense and brace against it all starts to dissolve. It all starts to dissolve, and what I'm left with is several different really intense sensations all happening simultaneously. And I'm in a mental space where I am just witnessing all of this happen. I'm not going to get into meditation or mindfulness, maybe on another video, but there's a lot of material about that out there. This is a specific application that a lot of people don't tend to take it this far, but it's really, really useful. There's a saying in Buddhist circles that goes something along the lines of, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, or suffering is a choice. And this is informed by the insight that happens when you practice these things and you start to notice that there's a distinction or there's a difference between the things that are actually happening and your entire mental process of what you're making it mean, what you're adding to it, how you're reacting to it, and then those reactions tend to form this whole spiral. Panic attacks work this way, anxiety works this way. Nearly all physical or emotional states which are painful work this way. And so that brings us into why you would ever want to learn this or ever want to do this. The dental work was just a place to practice it. I have a preference for practicing under intensity. I actually find it easier to practice with really intense situations than really subtle ones. But as you get better at this, you get pushed around less by your emotions, by your impulses, by your reactions, by pain in any form, because you're not reacting to pain anymore, because you're actually able to stand in your center and have a relationship with pain that's a relationship where you're not turning away, you're not being pushed around by it, and so you're not being forced to react in any way. This creates a space where you can have freedom to choose how you want to respond. I think you can see how this could start to translate to life in general, to relationships, to work, to just about everything, not just extreme situations of pain. But if you find yourself in an extreme situation of pain, it's a really good place to learn and practice and train in this. And so the larger reason for why you would want to do this is that if you're in a state where you're reacting to pain, you're essentially stuck living your life in avoidance of it, in avoidance of what will cause pain. And so this is going to interfere with maybe what your true purpose is, or what your true calling is, or what you really want to do. Yeah, you're going to let fear stop you from doing things. That's one aspect of it, but there's a whole bunch of other ways this could play out. If you are able to be controlled by your emotions, if you're able to be controlled by pain, and by extension by your emotions, and by extension to that, other people have the ability to do and say things that will cause you to be emotional, then those people are controlling you. Whether that's deliberate or not, conscious or not, you're going to be controlled by outside forces. And I'll just throw in, there's a lot of outside forces in the world today that don't have your best interest at heart, and sometimes even have nefarious intentions. And not being controlled by them, being able to have full autonomy and choice in the face of anything, all the way down to like propaganda campaigns, fear campaigns. Again, I'm not arguing whether that's intentional or not, or whether there's a whole thing behind that or not. You know, at the very least, news and social media algorithms promote the kind of material that's going to cause emotional reactions, that's going to cause fear and cause pain in some form, because it's good for views and it's good for the algorithm. Maybe there's nothing more to it than that, or maybe there's more. It doesn't really matter from your point of view if you're someone who wants to be free and autonomous and have choice. And if you think of yourself as someone who is free and autonomous, and you're not really acting that way, then you're deluding yourself, and that's sad and unfortunate, and it doesn't need to be that way. So there's a lot of other directions we could go with this topic. I'm definitely going to make other videos about this stuff. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about and create clarity and understanding about how these things work, so that you can live your best life.